Good day?
Good day, sir.
I said good day.
I said,
You get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
good day, sir. Good day, sir.
First, thank you, Gene Wilder of Willy Wonka, for teaching me that.
You get nothing. Good day, sir.
And while
You will collapse like a bunch of broccoli.
and with that, I'm dead, ladies and gentlemen. Good night.
This was the shortest episode ever.
Of regular geekery, yeah, not extra geekery.
No.
Okay, I got myself back together again. What's going on, everybody? Donald Kaczynski back once again, and with me, as always, Hannah Kubiak.
Hello.
What's up, Cubes? And welcome back to the General Geekery Podcast, the podcast where we like to geek out about everything we like to geek about, whether we have a topic in mind for the day, or if we want to talk about general musings. This is probably going to be a general musings type of episode, because I don't know what else to talk about. We got done last episode of going all over The Mandalorian.
Yep. There was a lot to talk about there.
Oh my goodness.
It was so good. So good.
So good!
I got you. When I hold you in my arms. This has gone on for too long.
That was still pretty good, though.
Oh my gosh.
But
yeah. Well, what have we got? What have you got coming up, Donald? What are you working on?
Right now I'm just working on changing up the recording space a little bit. Been doing, well, Hannah can see it, but you guys haven't. I've been doing a lot of rearranging around the room to make it more suitable for recording stuff. So, me personally, I'm not tripping over wires like I've always been doing when I've been live streaming and everything like that.
Yep, you don't want to be tripping.
Oh no, absolutely. Well, in both ways, truthfully.
Yep. Nope.
Been through those kinds of trips before. I don't like going back to that kind of trip. That's a trip, man.
Those were dark times.
The dark toll it takes. But yeah, other than that, I've just been making just constantly making coffee over at the job. We got a couple new origins of coffee coming in, which I'm perfectly excited about. Like, well, unless you're like really into coffee, kind of like how I am, since I'm deep in the industry. There is a few things that will excite you, especially like when you get to try new coffees, especially since you work with like the same kind of stuff day in, day out.
Yep. Get that new brew.
Yeah. Well,
they all taste the same to me, but well, I mean, not all, but I know coffee when I taste it. Right.
But you don't look for certain things kind of like how I do.
No.
Because
it's all lost on me.
Well, true. Well, no, not true. It's just
I have an unsophisticated palate.
No, not unsophisticated. You just don't know what to look for when it comes to coffee and things like that, because normally somebody has to teach you to look for like certain flavors in coffee and things like that. Like, I know I've been working as a barista. It'll be 6 or 7 years come. I want to say 6 or 7 years come August, right around. And over the past year, I've been working with one of the big coffee roasters in the city of Milwaukee right now.
Oh.
And prior to that, I had not been, gotten into like regular like black coffee as much as I have like other things. Like, I've done like flavor combinations with like different like flavor syrups for like lattes and things like that. When I was working at UWM's University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee's coffee shop, The Grind, like, there was a point where a lot of people would go to me for like different flavor combinations, because like I became like a mixing artist.
Right.
Over
wow.
There. Like,
so what should I be looking for here in this coffee that we have today? Is this the same as last time? Is this the Ethiopian, Papua New Guinea, Brazilian?
Yep, this is the espresso the espresso dulce blend that is available for purchase at Valentine Coffee Roasting Company. You can buy them online. We do ship around I don't know about around the world, but I know we ship around the US. But a main thing you want to do with coffee in order to like absorb the tasting notes is that you want to slurp it.
Okay. This is great
for
an audio medium.
So like this. I'll do it and then you follow me.
Okay.
And what that does is with the slurping, it gets all of those flavor receptors, like taste receptors in your mouth that normally don't get affected when you just drink it normally, and you can like taste some of the finer like aspects of the coffee and the and like some aspects of coffee will be more prominent as like the temperature goes down.
Weird. Okay.
Yeah, and and I've learned that like through the past year that I've been working with this company.
Okay.
With Valentine, because we constantly the people who roast like constantly taste the coffees every single day just to make sure it's all up to par with like what we got.
Okay.
And there's an entire wheel, like you know how color wheels work.
Yes.
Basically, and it's almost like that except with tasting notes of coffee.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
And it's so like descriptive in like some things because. The people who roast and everything like that, they've been doing it longer than I have, and they can pinpoint certain aspects down faster than I can.
Right.
Like, I pride myself on having a pretty good palate. It's nothing compared to, like, the roasters that roast the coffee constantly.
Like a sommelier of coffee?
It's kind of funny you say that because the owners that started the business originally were sommeliers, and I believe one of them was originally a sommelier in Napa Valley.
Yeah.
I could be wrong about that, but who knows?
Okay.
But having said that, hi Rob, hi Joe.
All right, awesome. Well, yeah.
I know they were listening. They were listening in on the podcast one time because I got approached by one of them. About a few days ago, and they're like, "I saw you do the podcast and everything like that." I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely. Glad you enjoyed it."
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I have kind of an interesting perspective about this kind of stuff because. I actually have no sense of smell, and this affects my taste. So I have very bad taste in clothes, in in movies.
Okay, I don't know if that affects like stuff like that.
In men, just my taste in men is terrible. No, I don't know.
Oh, wow. Okay. Do you really want to go into more depth on that, or no?
No. I'm just perpetuating this terrible joke that.
Okay.
Yeah. But basically, my sense of taste is kind of dulled because of it, and I had no idea for a long time because I was born this way with no sense of smell. My mom and my sister are the same.
Okay.
And so, like as a kid, you know. So, for example, like, what's your favorite flavor of Starburst?
Ooh, it cycles in between cherry and strawberry.
Okay, because those both taste exactly the same to me. All of them taste exactly the same to me. They all just have this sort of vaguely fruity taste.
I can kind of understand. I can kind of understand that because, like, with processed food like that, like. If you don't have like smell receptors like that, I can see that being a problem. Yeah,
you know those jelly beans that were big a while ago, the Harry Potter ones.
Oh yeah,
the Bertie Bott's every flavor bean.
Every flavor bean, yeah.
They all taste the same to me.
Wow.
Except for, I think there was like a pepper flavored one, like the pepper and the what is it? The cinnamon. Those ones I can taste, but all the rest, like at social things when I was a kid, like, it was like entertainment. People would be like, "Hannah, eat this one," and I'd eat it, and they'd be like, "What does it taste like?" And I said, "Tastes fine." And the fact that I could eat them was like this amazing thing. They were like, "Oh my gosh, this is so cool! Eat the vomit flavored one." And I'd eat it and be like, "Yep, just tastes like a jelly bean. I don't know what the big deal is."
Tell me you were at least okay with that.
Yeah.
Okay, because
I got to eat jelly beans.
Because I'm putting myself in that situation, and I'm like, I'd be terrified.
And then began my my long couple of years stint on the Circus Freak Show track, where I would taste things for people's entertainment.
Wow.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I know. First time I'm hearing about this.
I mean, yeah, and along with ambidextrous Daryl and lion-faced Louie.
Lion-faced Louie.
Your stunned silence is very reassuring.
That just sounds great. But...
Yeah. Well, I mean, it can be.
Well, that still sounds a lot more interesting than like how I was. I was such a picky eater growing up. Like, oh my god, like my family can tell you stories of like how picky I was, and like I was one of those kids that just put like ketchup and barbecue sauce on a lot of stuff, and there was like certain stuff like I just refused to eat. Mm-hmm. But now that I've grown like a little older and like everything like that, and I've taken more chances, things like that, like I'll put sauces on like certain kinds of things, but I usually like to pair them like well. I don't like to overdo it as much.
Right.
like how I was. I'm actually, especially within the past couple years ago, like years or so, I want to say like I'm trying to respect like the food more and like try to do stuff with it. Like I was never the best cook. Like I'm trying to cook more now. Like in the past like 2 years than I have all through college, because I didn't have enough time to cook when I was in college. Like I lived off campus, and an hour bus ride away. I started at 8 a.m, and I probably wouldn't even get back home until like midnight or 1 o'clock.
Holy crap, man!
Life of a theater student.
That's crazy.
And that was going on for 2 years. And the only time I could actually really get a good night's sleep was either I wasn't in a show and I was not working weekends, or I had a summer off.
Yep. Oh man, yeah. Life of a theater student.
Work. Well, life of just a theater like professional in general.
Yeah.
Like constantly working in whatever field you're in, whether it's your day job, your side projects, the shows you're working for.
I just had a funny thought, a funny memory. When I was in college, when I was a theater student, there were some friends of mine who lived kind of on the same hall in the dorms as I did. And as a bunch of nerds, they were like, okay, here we go. Like, let's, one day they were just like, well, we're going to kind of decide, like, if we were the Fellowship of the Ring, who would everybody be? You know? And so I wasn't there when they came up with all this, but later I showed up after some sort of project, and one of them said, oh yeah, we decided that you were Gandalf because you disappear for months on end and come back and nobody knows where you've been.
Wow.
And I was like, yep, basically. They're like, well,
what a title.
Yeah, I know. So
that's a burn, but
well, one of the greatest absentee namings I've ever gotten. You know, it's like,
oh my god,
Gandalf, where were you? Why didn't you meet us? I was delayed.
Sounds about right.
Yep.
A wizard is never late, nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he is meant to.
Yeah. Oh man. But yeah, I wouldn't have traded it though. Studying theater was great.
Absolutely. Oh man, there have been so many stories like throughout my time in college with theater and everything like that. Oh my. Oh, okay. Since we're sharing theater stories, like this was one that was crazy, and it happened during my last semester there.
Okay.
So we were in production of my last show when I was at UW Milwaukee. We were there. We were doing Arcadia.
Okay.
By Tom Stoppard, and the night, and one Saturday night, there was like a little bit of like a capstone type of performance, in the main theater building itself.
Yeah.
And we went there, like we had a good time, and we were in one of like the black box studio classrooms, and everybody was doing it. We had a lot to do. We were talking everything like that. We remember before we leaving that night, we're like, does something smell like gas? And we were wondering about it, and we decided to we're like, okay, we'll just let people know around the campus. 3 hours later, the theater building catches on fire.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know if you heard about this.
I have, yeah. I had no idea. Wait, so that was when you were a student there?
Yeah, when I was a student there. Like, it was literally my last semester. And it happened.
Crap.
And I was in the building that night, like hours before the fire even happened, because apparently, like, there was like a gas leak or something like that was left on in the stage studio department, because they were working late to prep for Arcadia on the main stage.
Oh my gosh!
And the entire theater building caught fire.
Whoa!
And I was about to go into bed for the night, and then like all of the theater students that were on campus, either in the dorms or like around the place, were sending photos and videos of the stuff that was going on there, and and I was wide awake all night for the rest of the night on that. Thank God I didn't have work or class the next day.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting in my bed and I'm just crying. I'm like, oh my God. Thank God nobody was in there, but it was the theater building, like the entire arts building. Yeah. Like was so affected. Dude. A large, like the main inside of the theater and like the prop shop and the stage studio was like it was charred. Yeah. It's totally destroyed, like thousands and thousands of dollars worth of damage and everything like that. And luckily we were able to like save the show and everything like that. Thankfully the Milwaukee rep lent us one of their performance spaces for us to do the show. Local theater departments from nearby high schools and everything like that lended their prop shops and everything to build everything. But yeah, that was probably like one of the craziest stories that ever happened during like my last semester there. That's insane. The whole place burned down. I mean, theaters have a rich history of burning down, so... Yeah, like I'm glad the theater was able to... I'm glad, like, the theater department was able to recover from that, like, a year after that. Yeah. And, like, I went to the first performance in like, the space after it was, like, re-renovated and everything like that. It looked great. Like, so much stuff that needed to be updated were updated. And it was... I'm like... Thank God you guys were able to bounce back from this. Yeah. Because that was a huge loss. And then like a few days after that, I had to listen to like a lot of students that weren't a part of the theater department and everything like that. It was a lot of business majors, mind you. It was like, oh, I wish my building caught fire. I actually slapped someone. Oh God! One of my friends who like change your major, man. Yeah, one of my former friends who was in business at the time and said that I literally he was like that. I literally took his hand and just went. Yep. Oh, I thought you meant on the face. No, not on the face. I never aim for a person's face. Oh yeah. I never aim for the moneymaker. You got to respect it. I even no matter what, I will never aim for a person's face because as somebody who has eye issues. Oh right. I respect not to cause any damage to a person's visions or anything like that. Like that's me. But I will. That doesn't mean I will slap on hand or arm or anything like that. I try to keep it there because that's where it's just still. Yep. But he kept prodding about it, and I'm like, dude, no. Yeah. Because theater people are probably some of the most passionate. When they were deep in the craft, they're probably some of the most passionate people you can ever meet. Yeah. Holy cow. You are a great example. Thank you. No, I'm being serious about this. Yeah, no, me too. Because the passion that you have for your performance, your art, you work at a performance space. It shows you care about everything that goes on in the wider theater community of the city that we live in. So, yeah. Aw. Yeah. I'm trying to think. I have a funny story from theater time. Absolutely. Okay. Go right ahead. It's a funny story. So, basically, I'm not sure if I've told this on the podcast before, but there's a theater department at a school is really a really closely knit, kind of odd, estranged sort of I guess almost a community. A community, yeah. It's a creed. Yeah, it's not as close to being a family, but it's a creed. It's a creed. It's close knit. Yep. Yeah. Exactly. And so our our professors, the people security people on the campus, didn't know who our professors were or what they looked like. So one time, we have some security cameras that were outside the doors to the theater. Okay. The theater space, the back doors. And so because people would come there at all hours of the night to work on projects and stuff like that. And one time, one of my classmates, this didn't happen to me, but one of my classmates, one of the security people was like, "Hey, you're part of the theater program, right?" And she said, "Yeah." And he was like, "Come here, I gotta show you something."
And so he like went to the where the security footage is, and he like shows her this footage of one of our professors like coming into the theater space at like 4 a.m, and this guy in his spare time, he's a farmer, he's a sheep farmer by trade, and he would teach like tech and stuff like that. So he just comes, like bustling in from the cold at 4 o'clock in the morning, and on the security footage, and the security man is all serious and looks at my classmate, and he's like, has this old man been bothering you? and my classmate was like, well, yeah, but he's one of my professors, so we can't really do anything about it.
Oh my god.
So the fact that our professors get mistaken for degenerates coming in, like, it sets the tone for what it was like.
Well, some theater professors are just they're out there and like their habits and everything like that. Like I can. Oh, okay. I'm not. I have another like really crazy story about this too. I'm not gonna share the person's name just because I don't want to get him in trouble. Yeah. But
okay.
During my I think it was like my junior or sophomore year in college, I was deep within the acting the 2-year acting intensive that the UWM acting program makes you take.
Yeah.
And I remember I was going to one of my lectures, and I'm taking a shortcut that very few people know about to get up there because we have in Mitchell Hall. There is a place called there is a thing about the staircase in Mitchell Hall. We call them the Mitchell Stairs. Like like how normal stairs are. Put another like measurement of stairs on top of that, and that is one step in Mitchell Hall. And like our lecture halls are on the top floor. Weird. So we got to go up like 3 flights of stairs. And like especially for those of us who are in the acting program, and we constantly have to do stretches, yoga poses and everything like that daily. That takes a lot on our bodies.
Yeah.
Like I remember like at the end of my first semester, my legs were so sore and so wobbly. I was like, oh my god. like any weight that I had gained like during my freshman year of college, I probably lost through that.
Yep.
But there's also a elevator that's located in the art section of the building. It's a longer way, but I took it that way to get up there because like we had to switch in between like from upstairs to a downstairs to upstairs again, like in between classes. I'm like,
wow, okay.
And I'm like, I can't keep doing this. My legs are killing me. I'm taking the long way.
Yeah.
So as I'm going through outside through the shortcut and everything like that, I find one of my acting professors smoking up behind in a secret place behind one of the things like where no cameras were like found or anything like that. And like he was like one of the first professors that I had the pleasure of talking to. And I see him clear as day because like I was just randomly looking around and we just like look at each other. He's like, hey, and I'm like, hey. and I just minded my business. And like I was just like, did that really just happen?
Have I actually understood?
I'm pretty sure it was my theater instructor, but or may have been someone else that looked just like him. Yeah. I don't know, but but I would like to think that it was him.
That's ridiculous. I mean, it would be a theater professor, you know.
Probably like well. Either that or a literature professor. I can probably see that, but who knows?
Maybe. I don't know.
But at the same time, I'm like, the literature department is nowhere near this building. Like, what are you doing out here, my guy?
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, this is probably going to be an episode full of, like, just theater stories.
Theater stories, yeah. Gosh.
It doesn't have to be a college one, but anything else you got?
Me?
Off the top of your head?
I don't know. I mean, I could talk about how slippery the floors were in Macbeth.
Oh my goodness.
Because we used this fake blood recipe that had dish soap in it. And then...
Oh, this is the VFR one, right?
The VFR one, yeah.
Yes!
And so, basically, there would be this whole scene where there was this fake blood involved, and it would be all over the stage. And then Sarah, who was playing the porter, would be there, and she had a wine bottle, and it was full of water, but it was supposed to be like booze.
Oh,
so
man.
when she was talking, she'd like point with it, and water would go flying everywhere.
Oh,
so
man.
it was basically like somebody had just mopped at the end of this scene. And then
Oh,
me and this other guy come on right after that scene, and we're like sort of, you know, we're sort of ice skating around at one point. Like, oh, now you drunk, you, and like doing all this stuff. And then somebody comes in, they say, and they say the king has been murdered, you know. And then myself and Macbeth are supposed to like be like, oh my gosh, and go running off. But what actually happened was we both started to run, and then he's like twice my size, and he's in front of me, and he goes and he like slips, and I like catch him, and then we both like stagger and slide out down the ramp.
Oh my god.
So yeah, it's like this thing where like he was slipping, I was trying to stop him from slipping, and so instead of making this really like macho dramatic, let's see what the situation is because we're war dogs,
right,
you know, and stuff. Instead, it was just kind of like a whoa, hey there, good buddy, whoa.
we almost ran into that situation when we did Titus, but I'm glad we used a different blood recipe. We
did. It was stickier, wasn't it?
Like it was stickier, but I would rather it have been sticky than slippery because. Yep. You can deal with like sticky surfaces like when you're on stage, but when you're trying to do like some serious stuff and like run and especially in fight scenes.
Oh yeah.
Because
that could be scary. Yeah. So yeah, it being sticky is definitely because then if you start to slip, it'll catch you. Mm-hmm. You know, it would be like have you ever seen Black Books?
I don't think I have.
He's a grouchy bookshop owner, and there's something where somebody's trying to clean up his space so that more customers will want to come in. And he's like, well, you got to get rid of whatever makes you stick to the floor right here. And he says, I like people sticking to the floor right there. It keeps small children from running around. So that's exactly the same. Like, I would rather have a sticky blood recipe than a slippery blood recipe because it keeps actors from running around. You know,
it'll keep them from running around too much, and it will prevent them from slipping and sliding and hurting themselves.
Yep, absolutely.
That doesn't stop us because when actors are on stage, we're just like a bunch of little children.
Yep, absolutely.
I mean, we may say we're professionals, but like, we're playing on stage. Yeah. Like that's our job. Yeah. Like, sure, we take direction, everything like that, but like, it's all on our own movements.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, man.
Oh, my God. That actually reminds me of this one story. So, God, this is going to be so great. So one show that I was a part of, I think you're really going to get a kick out of this. Have you heard of the show She Kills Monsters?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So, I was in the show.
Ooh, okay.
I was in the Milwaukee premiere that took place at UWM in, I want to say, about 2015, I want to say.
Okay.
It was a student-run production that was directed by Levi Miles. Mm-hmm. He was a huge into Dungeons and Dragons and everything like that. He got our mutual friends Andy Montano and Alec Lockman into it. Right, he was actually roommates with Andy Montano back in college.
Right. Okay.
And he wanted to do this show for quite a while. Mm-hmm. And so they gave him a budget and everything like that. But he'd had a lot of the costume stuff like on his own that he already had, and he had several people that he already brought on board in order to do this. Mm-hmm. And so like he had all these ideas in mind to use like shadow puppets, like everything in between. And I remember before the auditions came up for like that semester of shows, I think if I remember this correctly, he personally approached me and said, "Donald, I want you to be to play the role of the dungeon master." Uh-huh. Now, this is a time before I knew anything about D&D. Yeah. I did not have the luxury or pleasure of growing up with D&D when I was a young lad. Mm-hmm. I experienced it much later during my college years, which thank God it's awesome. I really want to do a campaign myself, but I don't have I have that kind of time. You have that kind of time because you're part of a podcast, part of a show and everything like that.
Yeah.
But why am I saying podcast or show? And
it's a stream, man.
Yeah, it's stream. There it is. There we go. I'm like, what am I even saying? But yeah, like we do all of this stuff, and like the amount of stuff that we put into this show, and it was, I was like one of the only people in the show that was like really in the acting department at the time, with the exception of one other person. Some of the other people were also theater majors, but they were also with like theater teaching or construction, everything like that. And a lot of stuff were like a lot of other like freshmen that hadn't decided on a major yet or anything like that. But oh my god, the epicness of this show is incredible. Like, I still get stopped sometimes whenever I'm in the UWM area from people who have seen that show, and they're like, "Oh my god, you are the Dungeon Master!"
Oh, that's great.
If you've ever had a role that people have stuck with you for more than 5 years, you know you did something right. And I still get called out on this role from time to time.
Yep.
One of my first days of working where I work right now, one of my coworkers were actually said, "Were you so and so in this show?" And I'm like, okay, how do you... I'm like, okay, how the hell do you even know that? And it turns out that coworker was roommates with the main girl in the show, and I'm like, and she's like, yeah, and they're like, yeah, she's got the show poster like in the main room and everything like that. I'm like, really? and then when I went to their Halloween party at their house and I saw it was in the room, I'm like, oh my god,
that's awesome. Yeah, I've been recognized a couple of times by people, like, for various things. I think the only character that they actually recognized me from was Ophelia, actually, a while back. It was like, "Hey, weren't you that crazy girl?" I like,
wow.
Well,
it's a little more than that.
Yeah, I guess so. But oh man, I am pleased to have that one checked off. That was a great show. I was just an actor in that show, and I had no worries.
No worries, no worries.
Yeah. And ever since then, I've been part of the production team in one way or another, and also acting. So, oh man, amen. Double tasking.
Amen. You are the awesomest. Is that even a word? Who cares?
It is a word. Clank clank.
We're gonna make that a word in the General Geekery dictionary.
Speaking of general, are you going to the generals?
Oh yeah, we could probably mention that. So for those of us in the Milwaukee area, for those of us who are their actors, myself and Hannah included, we have a current general audition coming up for it's a united collaborative of multiple different theater companies in the Milwaukee area. VFR is a part of it. Others would be Mad Rogues Theater that does the Drunken Shakespeare from time to time. Aura Theater Collaborative, I think is
Aura. Yeah, they're going to be there.
And there was one other one that I cannot remember, but they're doing a general Shakespeare auditions for all of their different Shakespeare shows, and so yeah, we have to do different Shakespeare monologues, things like that.
Yep. Oh, it's gonna be awesome.
Thanks to Hannah's help, I already have one chosen out. I'm still cycling through a second one.
Yeah. I have both of mine, but yeah, auditioning is like, it's one of the best and the worst things. There's so many good things about it, and there's so many just terrible things about it as well.
Like you have a rush in you that like you're gonna go up there and just be awesome and everything like that, but also like there's also like a giant sense of nervousness in this too, because like you're selling yourself. Yeah. Like it's basically an elevator speech comprised into a performance.
Yeah. The last audition that I did, I think it was. No, I've done auditions since then, but there was one that I did. It was the generals for the Milwaukee Theater Alliance, I think. They're like all the small theaters got together to have auditions for just all of their companies at once for their upcoming seasons.
Yep, I did that too.
Yeah, and I brought a monologue, and I was so nervous that I was standing there doing my monologue, and my left knee was just wobbling the whole time.
Oh, man.
I almost fell over because I was so nervous. And then later, like a friend of mine was one of the artistic directors who was watching it, and I was like, was it really obvious that my knee was wobbling? And he's like, I didn't notice. I'm like,
wow.
I'm like, oh, it must have just been in my head then. But it literally, I felt like it was going like backwards, like double jointed and stuff. Like,
oh man,
so,
man, oh man,
so wobbly.
Yeah, like we all have those nervous tics. Like that was probably the last time I auditioned too, and like my nervous tics sometimes is like I do a lot with my hands. Like I do a lot with my hands, and I have to like make like a conscious thought in my mind, like before I go in and while I'm doing it, control your hands. Don't let them go. Don't let them run off on their own. Like actually control with purpose.
Right. Yeah. I tend to gesture just with a finger, which is really bad. Well, like because like in Parks and Rec, like Leslie Knope, you know, like they make the giant float of her, like waving her finger. I tend to do that for some reason. Like when I'm like, you know, what's one of them? You know, it's like, you pluck 1,000 dangers on your head, you know, and, or whatever. Say, just Hannah, just stop wagging your finger at them like an old woman. You're 26 years old.
Oh my god. And then me, like my entire hand moving around and everything like that, like for some reason, like every single time I do that, I'm like, don't be Matt Smith from Doctor Who. because his version of the Doctor it talks with a lot with his hand movements. Yeah. It's at that. Ooh,
we're a fez now. Fez are cool.
Wow! So good.
Oh man.
I've always wanted a fez. I never got a fez. I'm so sad that I never got a fez.
Oh, there's still time.
There is plenty still time, and if I get a fez, then you get a fez.
Oh wow! Okay.
We all get fezzes.
Woohoo! Oh man,
this fez is cool. Respect the fez.
Yeah.
But yeah, like oh my god.
What's your favorite monologue you've ever done for an audition ever?
Oh. That's a good question. Ooh. There is one that sticks out in my mind. I don't remember the show or the full monologue itself, but I remember a moment from it that got me the part like almost instantly. So I think it was in the summer of 2016. I was auditioning for a community theater role in over in West Dallas. It was a theater company out of West Dallas. They were doing.
It wasn't Sunset, was it? No, that's in Wauwatosa.
No, it's not Sunset. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, but I can't remember them off the top of my head. Sorry, guys. But the show that they were auditioning for, the show was, I don't know if you've heard the show Jake Revolver, Freelance Secret Agent.
Nope, never heard of it.
Okay, so no, it's okay. So it's a show that was written by a local Milwaukee playwright, and it was before he got it published in by a big publishing firm, and he had a couple of shows done it before. So essentially, what it is, it's a live radio play.
Oh, okay.
Being acted out on stage, and the actors are reading multiple different parts, and everything's just going on at one time, and it's just like a live stage. It's like a live stage reading.
Yeah.
Almost. But it's like you're watching a radio performance going on. Like there's somebody in the background doing all of the sound effects at their own little table.
Oh, nice. Okay.
There's multiple different microphones set up for all the characters to speak their minds. We have several segments in the middle where the actors are performing ads for a coffee bean franchise called Jitters. And we actually for the show, the director and her brother made an entire jingle just for that. Jitters, bean coffee.
Oh my goodness!
And that was so. I don't know if you actually met the director. Did you meet Abigail Stein?
No.
Okay, she was one of the people who was acting for Medea, so that's why I wanted to ask that.
Okay.
But
oh no, I've met her. Yeah.
Okay, she was the director for the show.
Oh, okay.
So when I came into the audition, there was a monologue that I had found that basically it gets to a point where the punchline is like when you get nervous for like an audition and everything like that, and the punchline is you get so worked up that insert director's name here won't hire me. So I worked with the monologue a little bit in order to make sure that the director, Abigail's name, was the one that I pointed out. I made it a point to note the director's name for the show. Because one of the things, like, you want to make yourself memorable at an audition one way or another. Yeah. And I thought, I want to try this out. And it stuck. It left an impression with her, and then I was hired on after that.
Cool.
I was the guy who did all of the radio announcements. I was the narrator for the show and everything like that. Because I also mentioned like all my different like voiceover stuff and everything like that.
Sweet.
So I got to talk in my old-time radio announcer voice like this, promoting the show in between all commercials. and then like the hard-boiled narrator for any detective story. It was a dark night. It was a cold night. Cold, dark night. Around the detective office, the coffee was burnt from being left on the stove for too long. Quite bitter indeed. More bitter than if it was brewed fresh. Unfortunately, he added too many grounds and not enough water. That's usually how he liked it. It was a hard-boiled detective's life, that was.
Oh my gosh.
I just came up with that one on the fly.
Okay, I was wondering.
but yeah, that monologue was probably like one of my favorite ones to do, just because of like that one moment when I mentioned her name and she mentioned the name during it. It caught her so off guard that she was laughing for like a good like minute or two.
Yeah.
So that might be like one of my favorite ones that I've done.
Cool, yeah.
How about you? You got any
Yeah. Back in my community theater days, I played a small role in a show that I also stage managed, which was the effects of gamma rays on Man in the Moon Marigolds.
Okay.
So I was the stage manager for that originally, and then the actor who was going to play this character, who shows up for one scene, they dropped out, and they asked me to do it instead because I was already there. So I was like, yeah, sure. And it has probably been one of my favorite roles I've ever done, because essentially what it is the story is about this girl who, she comes from kind of a rough upbringing, and it's about how she has an opportunity to compete in this science fair. Okay. And so I played the snooty girl who was also in the science fair.
Oh, man.
Who was like really, really full of herself, and she wins every science fair.
Oh my God.
And her project was that she took a cat and boiled it and then reassembled the skeleton. So I had this prop where my prop was this cat skeleton on a little plaque. And she would like walk out with it, and she had like these really tight braids and this like plaid jumper and everything. And it was probably one of my favorites. And her entire, she doesn't interact with any of the other characters. It's just a brief scene where she walks on and she's got her cat and she talks to the audience like they're the judges. And she's like, "This is my cat, and I boiled," and all this stuff. So I did that one. I like brought a portion of that monologue to the generals, and so that was my comedic monologue that I did. And it was like this, with this ridiculous voice where she's like, "I got the cat from the ASPCA immediately after it had been killed by a high-altitude pressure system." And she's like so gung-ho about it all. So I consider that one to be pretty memorable.
What kind of Dexter's Laboratory type thing is this? Oh my God.
Her last line of the whole thing, which always gets a giggle when I bring it to an audition, is that she says, "Well, I hope I win, and maybe next year I'll do the same thing with a dog."
No! Keep her away from the doggos!
Just like this sicko little girl.
Stay away from doggo.
Yeah, so that one's pretty memorable. I think I enjoy it.
I am sorry, Miss Kitty.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Miss Kitty, that you had to be had your body given to science in this way. Oh my God.
Yep.
Oh my god. I can totally just see you doing that. I'm just like, oh my god.
Yep. So that's my comedic contemporary that I bring sometimes.
That's a great one to have. Holy crap. That one is so out of left field.
Mm-hmm.
Ay, ay, ay.
Yeah. So that's my favorite audition monologue to do.
So, here's a question, because I know, like, with us working with Shakespeare and in the community and things like that, like, your thoughts on intergender monologues. So, like, the males taking from the female monologues and the females taking from the male monologues. Just thoughts, just general thoughts on that.
If it fits the situation that you're if that you're trying to convey, like, it's not really in Shakespeare. You get a little bit more leeway with that, I feel like.
Right.
Like, for example, one monologue that I'm bringing to the generals is the Duke of York, which basically don't think so much about who the character is, but think about what they're saying and what they're trying to accomplish with their words. Right. Because that's really the important thing in Shakespeare. So, and that's really the important thing in theater. Yeah,
that's true. I remember when before you asked me to be assistant director for Titus Andronicus, and I brought in the monologue from, I think, part 3 of Henry VI. Yeah. When York has been captured and his son's like his youngest son has been slain, and Margaret's just lording it over him, and I did that monologue, and I could tell him by your reaction that, like, you were just like, this is an interesting one to bring in on this.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, that one was like one that I think that's the only, like, intergender one that, like, I've done.
Yeah. Don't let yourself be limited, you know?
I think especially for, like, our generation, that like, since so many of us are, like, finding, like, our different identities through like what, I don't know how to say this delicately.
You mean like gender identity?
Yeah, gender identities, things like that, because I'm trying to say it in a way where I don't offend anyone, because
I don't think mentioning anything like that is offensive.
I know, but sometimes, but
it's a fact in our life that people are trying to learn a little bit more about their gender identity.
I know, but I sometimes have a habit of saying things wrong and screwing everything up and making people upset. And I'm like, no, that's not what I mean. I'm so sorry. Please, no. I do that a lot sometimes, and I feel really, really bad when I do it. So I know it's a touchy subject for a lot of people, and I support anybody that tries to find themselves through that. Well, so I just don't want to say something wrong in order to break anybody's feelings on that, because I believe I'm a nice guy, and I try to make myself out to be a nice guy. Yep. I'm just going to bury my face in my cup of coffee right now.
Yeah. Just love the humanity in all people. But yeah, I think that when it comes to monologues like that, just if you identify with the character, if you understand the character, it doesn't really matter what gender they are, especially in just an audition, because, like, playing a character for a whole play is another thing. But, like, for example, I don't think that I could play the Duke of York in a whole play. Right. But this one monologue of the Duke of York, it really hit home for me about basically his nephew, someone he really loves, is making all these mistakes, and people are starting to hate him for it. And it's kind of like a, listen here, bud. I've been standing by your side and supporting you and trying to protect you, but you keep on doing stupid things, and soon I'm going to have to stop you. And I'm going to have to do things I don't want to do. I'm going to have to fight you, and I don't want to because I love you. Yeah. So absolutely. Yeah. And that actually that rings true for, like, a lot of stuff that it reminds me of, like, something that the late Dennis Krosnick from one of the founders of Shakespeare and Company always said, is that the emotional depth in, like, Shakespeare
we have emotional connections that ties us to like certain speeches, monologues, even the sonnets.
Yeah.
And the truth of the matter is like the important thing is like to understand why and to really like hit home on it. And if you can do that,
yeah,
then you'll be that much more powerful of an actor because of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's always ring true like in my heart. And I've been trying to refine that myself after being like inactive as an actor for like almost a year.
Yeah.
So yeah, like even though these generals are coming up, like I feel ready.
Yeah.
Like like not confident, not nervous. I'm ready.
Just ready to get back out there.
Yeah, it's time I get back out there and like start doing more acting stuff and everything like that.
Yep.
But yeah, that's
just keep doing what you love, I guess.
This is the way.
This is the way.
Dang it, Mandalorian! You're just going to be creeping up in all of our conversations now, one way or another.
This is the way.
We have spoken.
Yes. Well, shall we sign off now then?
Yeah, that's a pretty good round of General Musings.
Yeah.
This has been episode 12 of the General Geekery podcast. Thank you guys so much again for listening in. You can listen to us on Spotify, Spotify and Spreaker. I don't know why I keep saying SoundCloud. I haven't set up SoundCloud yet. At the General Geekery podcast, we are also available on YouTube at the Anime Rev Productions YouTube channel, the link of which will be in the description of this episode. You can check us out on social media, on Facebook at a General Geekery podcast, on Instagram at General Geekery, and on Twitter at Gen Geek Podcast.
Gen Geek Podcast.
Gen Geek Podcast.
Nice.
I love the shortening of that. Hannah, where can they check you out at?
Well, I stream with my party every Monday at 7:30 on twitch.tv/loadeddiceadventures. And I can be found on Instagram at Pythian Legume.
I still need to figure that out.
Yep.
I'm dedicated to this now.
I have Googled it and the answer isn't there.
Oh my goodness.
You have to actually know it.
Oh my goodness. It's toiling away at my mind. Eating away. I'm like, I have to figure this out.
Yeah. Where can they find you?
Oh yes, absolutely. You can find me on social media on Twitter and Instagram, and you can also check me out on twitch.tv at RyuzakiMK7. Thanks again for listening in, guys. For the always awesome Hannah Kubiak, I'm Donald Kaczynski. Clink clink to the final sip of coffee. And always remember, you guys, keep your geek on.
Always.
Later.
Later.